Alrighty, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of the Suboptimal Challenge. So this one, was supposed to come out a couple weeks ago. Sorry about that. I had an incredibly stupid idea over the course of this episode when I started doing it the first time, and then ended up spending way too much time pursuing that idea until I ran out of time, and then a whole bunch of baby prep stuff happened. But anyway, so moving on here, here's what we're looking at. So your first fight in Chapter 3 is a bit, the usual kind of chill start off to the fight. It's nothing as easy as Chapter 3 neutral, but, neutral Chapter 3, wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable, all that kind of thing. Anyway, you just have one golem, you have a couple orcs over to the sides. For the life of me, I can't figure out how on earth all these random mercenary groups managed to get a hold of orcs, considering they don't have a necromancer. But, we'll overlook that little detail. Which, by the way, if you have any particular things that you wanted to have looked into, I'm currently compiling a list of all kinds of just weird version differences and whether or not they actually make sense, all that kind of thing. So, anyway, moving on here. Expect a video on that one soon. I actually might do that immediately after this one. I should probably get back to this. Okay, so this fight's relatively chill, like I said. Pretty much just consisted of having the witch put everybody to sleep, while the few characters that can actually still deal damage at this point went around and slapped everybody around as best they could. I was thinking to go hire their enchantress over here in the back, but ended up just having the Valkyrie go and carve up the entire right side there. Yeah, Eustacia is an absolute monster at this point. Again, the characters that actually have managed to rank their skills up and stay consistent, they're still doing just fine. Doesn't matter that we're at under-leveled, sorry. We're still doing just fine, and that's what I love about this game. Like, honestly, there's so many different ways to go about different stuff that you can usually get by with just about whatever. But anyway, end up getting some spells off of her, end up putting a breach on their leader and just kind of surround him and start, pounding as you do. Just figured we started getting bleed out timers here. I didn't really want to see more classes getting behind, so went ahead and started piling on this guy. Original plan was to go through and see about getting one of those archers. That still remains a plan to this day. We'll get to that as we'll get to it. Actually, one of the goals for today is to get a archer. So you can see how Zapan lost. It's too bad he lost to a cutscene. Yeah, cutscenes deaths are pretty brutal, but what can you do? And yeah, apparently all the people with the unfitting Viking helms just happen to be friends. So, right. If I recall correctly, this guy actually does show up on other routes. He's just kind of more off in the background. He isn't really a full-on, chapter intro boss. But either way, fairly easy fight, all things considered. It's one of the ones where the leader charges forward. Pretty much any fight that has a charging leader is more or less on a win timer, at least if you're able to do some damage whatsoever, which again, pretty much as soon as you get Canopus, you pretty much have some means of doing damage throughout the entire game. And I want to clarify just again, because it comes up every time, he's not statistically that overpowered. He's give or take 6 to 8 points across the board better than other characters. But that being said, that amount is relatively significant very early. It's really just the fact that he has a finisher and an extra weapon rank that actually is what puts him ahead of everybody. Which right now he's more or less on par with the rest of the team. So, he's kind of just there. He just happens to have the ability to fly, and I believe we've already fired the other flyers. So anyway, I couldn't really figure out why I didn't have her running some different equipment, so I went ahead and swapped that out. And then we get into a weird fight in the swamp. Now, I thought this one would be relatively easy, so did the usual, swapped out for the lowest of all the classes that I have available, and we went against Mr. Fainatore, and he can actually be a castle boss in some other routes through the game. But alright, so you'd think, okay, basic classes here. Really, the ninjas are the only real special units here. This shouldn't be too big of a deal, right? Well, for one thing, the majority of the units on this map are going to be on our team by the end of this. And for another, this one, okay, fun note, by the way. He's Felnator here, but in some other places, like if we go back real quick, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, he is Felnator. Whatever. I'm just an idiot, okay? I thought it was Fainator in one of the cutscenes. It's probably just a visual thing. Ignore it. I'm an idiot. Moving on. So he's pretty reasonably stacked as far as skills go. We can't really stun him. We can't really do a lot of stuff to him. Pretty much Breach is the only thing we're going to be able to reasonably go for against him. So he's bulky. We're not going to be able to just rush him down. If you're ever wondering why so many of the bosses are knights, that's why. They're usually the ones that are way harder to take out, and if you try to rush them down, then they turn on phalanx, and then you're surrounded, and then you're screwed, and they're like, haha, you didn't see that coming, did you? Which is funny because, like, that particular thing is such an odd design choice. Like, there's a lot of interesting things about the way that they designed the remake, and pretty much knights are exclusively a unit that's like, you know, come get me, come rush me down. Oh wait, guess what? I'm invincible now. What you gonna do about it? And it's funny because in universe that is the perfect unit to make your leader, and so many of the leaders are that way, and yet oftentimes it gets criticized as like, oh, it's a BS design decision. It's it's not fair. It's like, but that's exactly what they're supposed to do. That's their job, and historically, that's pretty much what they did. Like when it came to knights and like when you went to like the full heavy hitters and stuff like that. It usually was stuff like, you were not getting past that armor without, like, knocking somebody down and taking their helmet off and stabbing them in the face or something. Or, hammers, polearms, what have you. Sure, there were other options, but point being, they were the tank of the day. It makes sense. But, anyway. Like, I've gone back and forth over whether I like it or not, because knights do feel like one of those characters that are overpowered in such a weirdly mundane way. But, anyway. So, same plan as before. We start going through, stunning people, putting them to sleep, all that kind of thing. Paul ends up going down pretty much immediately. We lose the ninja over on the side pretty immediately. Cleric goes down. I'm thinking, okay, this is looking a little bit scuffed right now. So I start trying to go for the rushdown, seeing if maybe we'll get lucky. Even with the best options available, we're doing maybe 40 to this guy. We need to be hitting 260. It's just, yeah, not looking pretty for this first attempt. And that's why I've been talking over it so much. Which, a bit of a random note on the heavy axe that Optimus is using here. For anyone that's never played the original, it's probably the single most downgraded weapon in the remake, because it's one of the, like, major endgame, like, you gotta go to Palace of the Dead to get the heavy axe kind of situations in the original. And then in the remake, they're like, yeah, basic mid-game axe. It's high damage, but yeah. It's just kind of funny, because I remember thinking several times, like, that the heavy axe must have come from somewhere else, because there's a lot of sprites in the remake that actually came from FFTA and stuff like that. But yeah, sure enough, the heavy axe is actually from the original. You just get it in Palace of the Dead. Very, very sharp kind of career decline on that one right there. Alright, so second approach was a little different. We keep the cleric back, we keep Paul around the center, because I want Paul to be able to land a fear on Felnator. Even if he doesn't end up getting much more beyond that, ideally if he can land a fear on there, it's a debuff that tends to last a good long while, and we might be able to get some damage in, and it would end up kind of helping out in the long run. They've got ninjas, they've got casters, they've got like nimble casters all over the place, so Paul's life expectancy is fairly slim here anyway, so I want him to get down to business as quickly as possible. He gets one of the Valkyries scared, and we start rolling for the BS. Because then I went through and looked through their loyalty and realized, oh crap, they've got some pretty crappy loyalty actually, so they don't have to be all the way down in order to be recruited. Many of them can be about half health and still have about 20% chance to actually be recruited at this point. Which apparently they have no concept of the fact that they are drastically winning the fight, because like I said earlier, the majority of the people on this map are going to be joining us. in probably the most absurd like pile of RNG I've ever seen. Like, I start realizing over the course of this attempt here, like, granted, Optimus is screwed here, but this is when he pulls one of his time warp moments and goes back. But that's when I realize just how potentially good a recruit's going to be on this map. Because clearly we're not doing so hot on the fighting directly front. Because of the swamp, we're having a hard time reaching people. Because of Paul's relative obsoleteness at this point in terms of his gear, we're not necessarily getting where we want to with him either. So, figure, okay, we're going to go the recruit route, we're going to get Fulkered in there. We're gonna just try to let the two recruiters go up front. For anyone worried, by the way, if I'm using multiple classes or whatever else, Denim is the Berserker at this point. So he's essentially he was the Knight, he switched over to Berserker, he kept many of the same skills, and then Voltaire there took over as the secondary recruiter. At some point I want to have a tertiary. Ideally, probably either going to be running Sistina or Eustacia for that, since both of them tend to consistently be in the front line. But either way, we'll do as we'll do. So, we start beating down different units and getting them surrounded by the recruiters, and then just spamming the win button over and over. Now, I say that as a joke. It's not really that overpowered, because Recruit is fairly expensive, and it's fairly... it's going to take you some pretty extreme luck to be able to pull this off. So, in this case, it was basically just a numbers game. We just bide for time, spam Recruit, get them to relatively low health, and then just try to get them to attack once before they take a hit and get knocked out themselves. This seemed to be the best way to go about it, because, again, our odds were like 10-20%. I mean, that was a 13%. I believe that was the lowest one where Rybold ended up joining. So we'll go ahead and make him the captain of something. But anyway, moving right along here. Yeah, the water was not really doing any wonders for either side. Actually, they had one Valkyrie that's sleeping over there on the left that ended up tearing down about half the party with throwing axes later. But either way, putting everybody to sleep, using stun, just kind of keeping everybody at bay. You can kind of see the crescent shape going across the map here, where a combination of water tiles, units that were asleep, rampart aura, and just ranged attacks and all that kind of thing ended up keeping them at bay. So we had more attacks that were showing up in 30-40% range for the recruits, and I thought at this point we had gotten Malin. We had a optimized two-hander build with decent strength and everything else with Mighty Strike. That is enough to be able to go take out their leader. We have heal support for them. Done deal. Victory achieved, 3 recruits, whatever, we're done here. Or so I thought. See, that's when Mr. Felnator over there, taking his turn once every couple decades, is looking at this whole situation and thinking, you know what? I'm gonna use their own strategy against them. We're not able to recruit them very good, but if I were to make use of this little water bridge over here, I say water bridge, just like water barrier over here, we might be able to do some interesting stuff with that. And sure enough, that's what happened. Now, Brea over here, could not help but look at the name every time and keep thinking man, we got freaking Parasite Eve Valkyrie over here, and yeah, the funny part was that she was coming in with sidearms from the side there and just taking everybody out. So then I figured, okay, we need more debuffs. If we're gonna be stuck in a just complete mire like this, we're in a stalemate. I can't get my damage over there. As of yet, the Amazon there had a couple turns to actually go deliver that package of pain, and so I figured, okay, we're gonna go see about getting these magicians over here, see about getting some of their business in. A little quick sip of coffee. Oh, that's some dang good coffee. Anyway, so ended up training Dunham to use Cleanse. It'll be useful later, but for now I needed to get rid of that poison because our healing is basically non-existent, because we've got one basic cleric with one basic heal spell that needs to keep this entire party rolling. So our ninja ends up taking another injury. It's always weird to me that they have that little decorative bow tie on the left. We've got Mighty Strike getting thrown out on our Amazon, and unfortunately, it starts becoming clear that Malin is getting absolutely owned by Felnator over there. So we go back to rolling recruits, and sure enough, end up getting lucky some more. Now, I ended up taking screenshots of well, pretty much the ones that I figured would succeed. There were some other ones that were like 5% that I figured there's no way in hell this is happening. So there was a bit more spamming than is shown here, but folks have mentioned before, hey, you don't need to take a screenshot of absolutely every single freaking detail, we get the point. So, okay. Anyway, at this point we're just losing units left and right. It's starting to become clear that not many units are walking out of this map in one piece. So, decide to start consolidating our best options. The recruits keep being used to just hold everybody off. I need to focus in on getting as many casters working as possible, and unfortunately, Emily ends up getting knocked down at this point. And as you can see, Felnator is over there, still with 193 health. Now, you can probably do the math on the fact that our main damage dealer just got chucked into the swamp. We have nobody to deal any damage, and we have a caster on her last life that is about 3 turns away from bleeding away and joining the fish. So you kind of can assume what's coming next here. But anyway, we finally get the casters on side, end up throwing whatever healing we've got over at them, end up using the last of the mend +1s here, because I figure, okay, we're really low on health. The only way of making it through this right now is just kind of using whatever resources are left, because the green wizard over there has poison on him. So, with some poison... Actually, wait, was it him that had poison? Yeah, I think it was him that had poison. He had poison, she had... Actually, I think she was the earth one there. Yeah, she was the one with the slowdown moves, he was the one with the poison, so we figure, okay, combine both of them. If you have slowdown and poison, ironically, you're kind of getting quick poison at that point, because they are essentially taking far longer to take their turn, and they're getting more poison ticks during that time. And these guys are not really bothering to get rid of said poison because they've got other things to deal with. But we're almost 1-to-1 with them at this point. We've got everybody bleeding out all over the place. The sidearm sniper ends up sniping my witch over there. Canopus ends up losing another life. It's extremely close. Now, the sun gives sidestep in this one. It doesn't give a morality-based nuclear explosion across the entire map, though that would be a lot more useful right now. Either way, we're just slowly pecking away, trying to maybe land another recruit, trying to do any damage whatsoever, because at any point, Felnator can suddenly decide, you know what, screw your damage for the last round, here's an extra 70 health, and that's exactly what he ends up doing multiple times. And so, you know, it's kind of getting to the point where we're clearly having a hard time landing enough damage to be able to overcome this. So, I end up rolling. Unfortunately, the miracle roll doesn't happen that time. That would have... Honestly, that probably would have been worth a reset at that point. It's just like, yeah, I think something must be wrong with these numbers. But, and unfortunately, Emily dies at this point. Our enchantress that was there from the very beginning is unfortunately no more. Rip and swamp. But, anywho, while the gators are chomping on her, we end up actually recruiting this guy, and that ends up finally being the thing to turn this. Funnily enough, if you're wondering how on earth the rune fencers are still here, it's because they come with HP infusion almost guaranteed, and HP infusion, compared to our other healing options of simply not existing, is absolutely nuts, because while basic heal will do about 40, med leaves do 25, 50, 75, you know what, you get the point. They will essentially do up to 200. Also, brief pause here. Alright, and brief pause done. So yeah, at this point, we're extremely close. Like, it's basically Denim, Fulkert, the 2 recruits, and on the other side, we've got the one sidearm Valkyrie that was just taking people out left and right, and we've got their leader, who, like I said, can basically heal 70 a round, so we have to do more than that. And there was a very good chance to hire the sidearm Valkyrie, and she said no. She was like, no, I am way too good. I've taken out like 6 or 7 of your guys. No thanks. There is no way I'm joining that crapshoot. Oh yeah, and they have another fencer as well. Anyway. And his line here, like, what can you possibly achieve at this late hour? Just, man, it seems so fitting when, you know, when everything has gone down to the line this much. So I figure, okay, I need to shut down his healing, so I put the bridal scroll on Denim. I figured we'll go ahead and take a swing at him, and the bastard keeps blocking things. Like, okay, right now it was that guy. For a couple rounds, Felnator, okay, he did end up getting hit by it finally, but there were multiple times that he just kept blocking it and blocking it and blocking it, and yeah, it was kind of annoying. Anyway, so at this point, yeah, it's looking like we're pretty much done here. We've got a few things to do still. Their second to last guy ends up joining us, and that's kind of when it became clear that, okay, this is finally a win. There's no way he's walking this back. It's 4-on-2. Man, it's this fight took like 2 hours. it was kind of insane. I'm not even gonna feel bad about screenshotting that one because wow, that would have been an adventure and a half to edit. Which yeah. Anyway, moving on. So we got Evelyn, our enchantress, very high int, decent mind. We got Fibras, good mind, decent dex and things like that. He'd be a good ninja later. We got Rybold here, who's good at dex and not much else. We've got Andy the wizard here, good balanced int and mind, but very good vit, so he'll be a good Terror Knight down the road. And then, unfortunately, Emily is deceased at this point, so again, rip and swamp, unfortunately. This guy comes with my Pyroclastic Flow and Misery, so that'll be useful later. She comes with Charm, so what I was thinking at this point is actually to make him into a Terror Knight at some point, make her into the Witch, but we're going to keep him as a enchanter, or keep him as a wizard for now. Now, here's the thing. I mentioned earlier I had an incredibly dumb plan for this one. See, I noticed when repeatedly doing this map, because, you know, there's a lot of these maps that I end up repeatedly doing over and over so I can figure out the quirks. There was one guy, specifically their cleric guy that hides up there on the ramparts, who has, I would say, something like 20-30% odds of spawning in with a boulder mace. And so what I wanted to do with this particular map was do this whole tricky route, because, again, for anyone who's never played this before, this is the Gildora fight. It's super easy. She's squishy. You know, I mean, she'll charge half the time anyway. You just block her off and beat the crap out of her squishy self, and that's it. That's the fight. So what I was thinking is we're going to go in here, we're going to send some units over on the left, we're going to go to the right side. Basically, the ones on the left are just biting for time, which the Amazon, by the way, doesn't have Mighty Strike anymore, so screw it, she's useless now. But what we're doing is, yeah, the plan was hold off the left, go to the right, recruit an archer, recruit the cleric that's flying around. Suddenly, we have a flying cleric, we can turn our cleric into something else, like maybe a knight, and then suddenly we have a healing knight that isn't Voltaire, because he's kind of just become garbage at this point. And so I figure, okay, this seems like a pretty solid idea. That cleric has a pretty good chance to spawn in with a Boulder Mace. Why do I care about that? Maces suck. Well, because I figured, the most suboptimal thing we could possibly do is to also set up a melee cudgel build. And, I mean, yeah, we're still gonna do that. I just, kind of came to the realization that we kind of just get one for free, so there's really no sense in redoing that fight 20 plus times to get that all to line up. And also, their archers have really, 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 really high loyalty, like it's probably in the 90 to 95 range. So this means that they have to be at really low health, and then they've got like 10 to 20% odds to actually join. So basically every part of this was completely scuffed. The cleric, though, he's got a little bit lower loyalty, but oh well. Funnily enough, it's actually all of the frontliners on this map that tend to have lower loyalty. Apparently she treats her frontliners like garbage, which I love this little environmental storytelling that goes on with all that stuff. You never saw the numbers in the original SNES version or the PSX version or the Saturn version, which, by the way, expect a video soon on the Saturn ports, because wow, March of the Black Queen is different on that one. But anywho, what was I getting at here? Yeah, so Gildora hits like a truck, but she's a complete glass cannon. I mean, she's not even a glass cannon. We're talking more like a paper bag cannon. She's a firework, for all intents and purposes. But yeah, like other fireworks, they tend to get damped down in the rain. You just kind of got to stomp them out, and that's it. So I went for Field Elk 2. I figured it was about time to get that on Sub Optimus. I went for a different route this time because I don't know why I was trying to block off the left side. It makes no sense to block off the left side. They take like half an hour to show up anyway. The actual design of this map is one of the things that functions very weird in the remake, because in the original, the way that she's supposed to work is she goes back behind the wall. You've got either the C approach, which will have a shorter distance, you can kind of isolate units out. You've got the bridge approach if you're looking for more of an open fight. And then you kind of just want to try and coordinate and, get everybody all crunched down in there. I mean, in both versions, her AI can just jank out and she'll just charge instead, but either way, I say both versions, but they're all different. Anyway, so point being, this is pretty much an easy fight across the board. It's just in the original version, she tends to be way hardier, because for whatever reason, their spellcasters just also were given incredibly good physical stats. And yeah, that kind of is what leads to the meme of just Orba being friggin' jacked as all hell. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that ended up losing a couple of units first time playing through that game just because they went and dared try to stab the wizard, who immediately turned around and one-shot them with a walking stick. So that's always fun. Anyway, so eventually Gildor ended up moving up to the front here, ended up getting her isolated, and we did run into a few complications here though, because multiple times she ended up just barely surviving. She's one of those ones with an AI that as soon as they take damage, they will run off. Just like what's her face, the kind of like gypsy lady in front of Almorica earlier. She'll also intentionally run forward, take some hits, and then lure you in for a big kill. So she tries to do that every time, but again, if you get some units over there to block her off, then you're going to be all well and good. I ended up completely throwing away that plan to recruit an archer. Figured maybe they'll drop one, best case scenario, but whatever. Finally, just finished her off. We'll get an archer in the next fight. And so, the next one is Xaebos, and at this point, we actually are required to use one new class, because this is where you get the Magus marks. So this means that we are required to use a level 1 for the boss fight, and so we will. So this was the first attempt at it. Just figured, what the hell, I'll give it a go. I know it's not going to go well, but this is kind of the scouting run, as it were. So I went in, figured this kind of split party. They've essentially got 2 waves and then a third kind of boss wave that comes in. And Xaebos actually does have better AI for this one. He's one of the few that has a advanced AI like Vice does, where sometimes it'll seem like he's doing super random stuff, but it's not as random as it looks. There's usually a lot more thought behind it. He'll avoid certain tiles, he'll avoid certain situations, all that kind of thing. Why they didn't do more stuff with that is initially unclear, but to be fair, most of it kind of makes sense. It's just a matter of, honestly, how do you add more stuff to this already ridiculously long game? Alright. Anyway, so Deathproof, Rampart Shadow, Strengthen, the usual kinds of stuff you'd expect. The guy is basically a walking beef wall. You never really want to fight him directly. Even our best damage dealer does 16 damage, and he's got 250 health, so it's going to take a while. Most of the attacks will be doing 1 damage when it comes to the ranged side of things. We have a squishy that is, well, potentially useful for luring certain units, but essentially also means that ranged units are almost guaranteed to kill her, so that kind of sucks, but well. Poison's going to be a big deal here as long as we're able to hold them off, but that was kind of the issue. So my plan going into this one was to attempt to recruit. Once again, big shock there. But essentially I want to ideally recruit 2 units from either the Terranites or the Dragoons. The fencers and things like that seem to have slightly lower loyalty, but they're a little bit tricky to get to, because while the other ones are active, you're basically blocked off from going anywhere. The ideal approach is not to go anywhere whatsoever, because they will only send those 6 units up to start off with. If you take all of them out, Xaebos will start coming forward, and everybody else will start following him. So, again, this is kind of a scripted one, but we can roll some 30% or so. This is definitely doable. Realistically, if we can get a couple of their Terranites on our side, they won't be targeted until they end up getting to said other side. So it's very realistic that any one of those units could then be sent to their back line to start messing with everybody back there. As long as one of the clerics is taken out, there's a couple of approaches here. We either can send some people back to go deal with everybody back there. There's a decent chance they'd be taken out by casters, but because Balder is kind of a standard at this point, they will be reasonably more resistant to that kind of stuff. That all being said, there's also a decent case to be made to send Folkert back there to just recruit one of them, as well as maybe recruit a Warlock. And then aside from that, we've also got the ranged units, which are kind of all over the place, so that's going to be a bit more situational. Typically, Xaebos winds up in the center of the map, so you can almost always get him locked down. It's just a matter of he'll usually overpower anyone that's nearby him. And that's on a normal run. On a suboptimal run like this, where everything's completely jacked, you can kind of assume how those odds are going to go. Now, we're using the Terranite on this one, but his everything is just completely scuffed at this point. He's got a fairly out-of-date weapon. He's not a particularly good unit right now. Terranites, like, if we can get one of the ones on their side, that would be incredibly useful. We're definitely due for an upgrade. Poor Paul has done his job as best he can, but Well, he's not a high enough level to make use of the Boulder Blade that you're expected to use at this point. And he doesn't exactly have a decent armor to go with it either. So if we can get either one more level on him, or if we can get a new Terranite hired in, that would be incredibly useful. And this is kind of when it becomes clear that the clerics in the back are basically made to bully your squishier units, because if they have nobody to really critically heal at the time, they'll actually chuck grenades everywhere. And again, for a suboptimal run, this means that they're getting like AoEs of 50 or so, which is not great. For anyone that missed it, by the way, when it comes to the shots in this one, they might seem a little useless at first, but they're actually pretty handy in certain situations. They actually aren't boosted whatsoever by elemental stuff, as you'd assume. Which, by the way, actually, I'll get to that in just a moment. Let's go ahead and get to this thing proper. Alright, and back to it. Man, so this is technically 3 months into their whole campaign here. That's just crazy. Already lost 3 people and had 120 KOs. Actually, wait a minute. What's our kill count looking at here? Yeah, our kill count is barely better than our KO count. Very barely. Also, sorry for the random noise that came up. That would be exactly the moment the pop-ups end up happening. Okay, moving right the hell along here. So, party at this point is exactly what you think it is. Yeah, if Paul was 1 level higher, he'd be so much better. Now, what I was mentioning earlier with those shots and things like that, so initially they seem a little bit useless because they deal essentially a raw elemental affiliated damage that doesn't scale with certain things. So, funnily enough, I believe they actually do scale like penetration damage with I think they deal 1 damage by themselves, but they get a slight damage bonus off of the thrown skill, because any units that use them and are interested in use them from the AI side of things do actually have the thrown skill on them, which is kind of bizarre. Although weirdly enough, using them I don't believe actually trains thrown, so that would indicate that it shouldn't be that way. Maybe it was originally supposed to be or something. We'll take a look at their team in just a moment to see what I'm talking about there. Anyway, so let's go ahead and turn Evelyn into the witch, which we... that way I can stop calling them a witch and they can actually be a witch. This time around I need to remember to actually give them the equipment that they need to get. It would be nice for them to have a... well, anything on them, but whatever. We'll deal as we'll deal. Probably just give them a sticker. There we go. So, funny note, a sticker is actually a pretty good defensive item, all things considered. I mean, 3 avoidance is the same as the buckler. It's not mind-blowing, but still, it's 3% better odds to dodge with pretty much no weight. Why the hell not? So, as I was saying earlier, those shots will essentially scale with 1 thing alone, as far as I can tell, and that is elemental affinity for the map, which will tend to go up every time that you use particular abilities. So, for example, those healers are repeatedly healing, they are slowly building up healing affinity. The casters are casting light elemental stuff, which means those corset shots that they use will go up very slightly. It only raises their max damage, not really anything else, so it's an odd time for sure, but oh well. Another thing you may notice, if it looks slightly different this time, the screen tearing effect that was happening before was due to the bilinear filter on the Vita. So this time around, we shouldn't have screen tearing anymore. So there we go. All right. So frontliner-wise, these 2 are our primaries. We're gonna have Marlowe over there attempting to yoink some items and just be a general distraction. We've got Paul as the other frontliner here. We've got Meridia for just general range support. We've got Andy for poison. Krestia is just doing distractions. Canopus is just going to hope to rain down some finishers. I'd actually prefer to have him maybe on that side. There we go. So, Marlowe, I want to have protecting Avalon. She will get targeted, but he tends to be pretty good at getting his turns quickly. Krestia is there as just another distraction, so who knows, maybe we'll do something with that. Anyway, let's get rolling on this train wreck. Yeah, at this point I believe fencers are at 11, so we can't even use them. And alright, so we're currently, I think, like 4 levels behind, something like that. We're an entire equipment tier behind. We are way behind on skills, and we have never used a shop. So let's do this thing. Alright. So as far as what they're rolling with here, as you can see, he's got some pretty decent gear on him. They're pretty much all running the standard boulder type stuff you'd expect at this point. So yeah, Deathproof, Strengthen. He doesn't have Fortify in this one. I believe he actually has Fortify in his normal version. Switches over to a more offensive variant here, I believe. Not that it really matters, because he's still built like a dang tank. And he's also got parry on him, so that's potentially an issue as well. He basically never misses. Anywho. So let's probably just move you here. I'm going to try to put Canopus over here, so maybe he can harass from the sides. And I'll see how well that goes. Now, we should only have 1, maybe 2 units at the start that are going to be coming up the left side. The right side's going to be a little different, but again, we'll see as that goes on. And just to kind of show this here. So they've got the thrown skill, but they don't actually get anything for using the lobber. We'll see once they use a Corset shot if it actually does anything. I don't believe there's any circumstance that it does, but I'd like to be proven wrong. Right, so put you over there. So one of the few times where it's actually going to make sense to use one of our mend leaves, because our regeneration is pretty crappy at this point. And alright. So move there. And get our heavy crossbow over this way. I believe at this point she's like 30% of the way to actually getting a crossbow finisher. Once she ends up getting this all the way up, which I probably should take anatomy off for the time being. Once I get that to rank 2, it doesn't really even matter what future ranks she has. I mean, they'll be better, for sure, but it really won't matter at that point. Because once you get Brimstone Hail, you suddenly have a means to do a damage scaling ranged finisher, which is beyond broken. So we'll do that. I mean, I say it's broken. It's balanced as it should be, to be frank. It's just one of those things where anything damage scaling, you can use to pretty much get past any defense that you come across. It's just a matter that when it comes to something like Brimstone Hail, you can essentially scale damage to get past any armor at a long range. So, you know, it is what it is, and the fact that you can basically ignore terrain with it, because it is functionally artillery. So, that's nice. Anywho. Funny that despite having infinite items, well, they don't have that infinite items, but they will always try to use the most appropriate recovery items. At least in world mode. In the original, they seem to just kind of use whatever. Couldn't tell you why. But oh well. Alright, so current plan here, since I don't know how much editing room I'll have for this one. Current plan is let the Terror Knights approach. We never enter onto the bridge itself, not for the time being anyway. Ideally, we get some misery going on him. He doesn't have Spell Strike, unfortunately, so we're going to have to deal with some pretty crap odds with this. The odds for that one should be 70% or so normally, once we actually get him up to snuff, but for the time being, that's a hard no on that. She's going to continue taking shots, again, just trying to get access to a finisher. Once she has access to a weighted shot, we'll have a lot more options on hand. Now, the reason we do it this way, the healers will, for the most part, stay back there. Occasionally, they'll charge forward. This does seem to be one of those times where they're feeling a little bit more aggressive, but we do not want to enter that bridge under any circumstances whatsoever. And it feels really weird using the stone bow after getting used to the Gemini on the original recently. I was going through and comparing the differences between the different Palace of the Dead versions, and pretty much have most of the characters running around with the Gemini on that one. For anyone who has not played the original, you basically have the bowgun, the Gemini, and I think you had like the dark crossbow or something. There's some other one later, but yeah, no, crossbows were way stronger, but way harder to get a hold of. Basically, the Kranikin, I believe, uses the same one as the Gemini in this one. Could be. I mean, it's the same general idea. The thing's functionally a windless crossbow. Just Gemini sounds cool as hell. Actually, come to think of it, that makes a lot of sense name-wise. Because the whole thing with the windlass was that it was a two-part system. They had this like whole weird crank mechanism they had to put on there to be able to even fire the stupid thing. But they were really, really powerful. Suddenly speaking weird there. Really powerful. Anyway, yeah. Apparently got a Elmer Fudd accent for some bizarre reason. Okay. So she's still gonna sit there. Maybe do a little bit of damage to this guy. See if he maybe wants to join. Join us.
You know you want to.
And apparently he doesn't. That's a shame. Alright, so Xaebos is charging forward. That is a definite problem here. So Word of Pain, not doing very much. I'm gonna assume he's a Morningstar. I'd prefer to get the Morningstar here. We gotta roll it. Please miss Paul. Okay, you know what? I'll settle for that, that's fine. So now we're basically just doing damage to them over time. Perfect. That's unfortunate, but oh well, could be worse. Keep working on bow skills with her. Okay, their archers are holding back. That's good. They've only got one that decided to move forward. I don't quite know what we're going to do about that. But we'll see what we do. If we can get one of these guys recruited, that'll make a massive difference. It's kind of the big break point here. We need to get somebody off of their front line onto their back line. Alright. Now, Paul's days are limited anyway, so we'll just go ahead and, I guess, roll a heroic sacrifice here. Alright. By the time that we are in position to recruit her, that fear should have worn off. So that's kind of the plan here. So Paul's doing a sacrifice. She's frightened. She should take more damage from this now. There's 6 extra damage from that crossbow. He's still moving forward. When it comes to Xaebos, if we have... I think we need 4 finishers to be able to just wipe him instantly. And we'll see if we can get Canopus to deal with her back row at all. Because if you keep somebody off on this back row here, you can actually do some pretty decent stuff. Even with a basic short bow. Because for the most part, unless they specifically dedicate somebody to it, they shouldn't be trying to target back there. Now, this does create a bit of a problem with our front line being on a timer since we lost Paul. Oh well. We'll deal. So keep him topped off. So far we, again, have 1 intentional sacrificed unit. For the most part we're holding together, still doing regular damage per round. She went from 1 damage to 8 on that short bow. Honestly, if we can just get a KO on her, that's fine. Like, the thing is, I'd like to get some more Terranite marks to be able to turn one of them into a Terranite. That right there is a problem. We don't have any way to deal with fear at this point. Drop a big poison right over here. Okay, good. Good, good, good. Not too much for us to be doing there. I probably could use a Firestorm too here. Wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. Actually, Sand Spider. You can do some alright damage with that. Alright, maybe not. We need to either stick to this recruit plan or save points to be able to drop finishers. Because right now we've got 2 guys with finishers up in the front. We have Canopus that can come in for another one. We may be able to do just 2 rounds of finishers if everything's ideal. It's going to be a thing to set up, though. Okay, just continue holding. Yeah, sometimes the secret to winning in this game is just doing nothing. It's actually very often the case. Ice Blast, that's fine. I'm thinking if we can hold the front line right now, even if we don't get that recruit off, which suddenly, if we actually can get access to one of these guys, he's going to park himself right between our two recruiters. Here, you know what, we're going to... Is this shot one that can land? It's worth a try. Yep, okay, so she can land it. Even with a 12 level deficit, she can still do damage. So we're going to get some of the squishies in at this point to try to lay a little bit of damage out there. Especially, I'd like to be able to hurt that guy, so that we can try and recruit him. So we can get him on our team, that's suddenly way more DPS. I'm going to get Denim patched up a little bit. I need that fear removed from him ASAP, but not too much we can do about it for now. So, okay, if we get Canopus back here, like kind of the non-recruit plan as it were, if we can get Canopus back here, we have him harass the healers a little bit. Actually, if we don't even move back there, then we don't aggro anybody extra. We just keep sniping the healers, which will continue to give him TP, which will continue to potentially go into other things. That is not a good time for a crit. Incredibly rude, in fact. Alright. Would really like if they would stop critting now, please. Again, it's hard to tell whether there's actually an increase in crit rate when there's a level deficit, or if this is just it's kind of something that feels that way. So keep going for this guy. Current plan is recruit the Birdman. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Alright, he's going to get rid of poison. Xaebos does really like to use recovery items, as you might have noticed. The guy tries to be a good boss. It's going to seem like a weird choice, but I'm going to put True Strike on him. We should have a heal coming up relatively soonish. Come on, please roll that recruit. And he's at 0%. What is the deal with that? Oh, never mind. He's got perfect loyalty. Okay, that's never going to happen. Well, that sucks. Instead of attacking him, do we just... That's a problem. Okay, well, let's go ahead and block off Denim for now, then. Let's see, he's going to get 21 there. They're going to have 2 attacks that might finish him off, unfortunately. 59, which would silence, but that's kind of whatever. Optionally, if we do that, do we get any percentage chance to recruit? Right, game, please stop lagging. Would really appreciate that. And it's still 0%, so that sucks. We're just gonna have to try to kill this guy off then. Granted, it's way more turns invested into dealing with this guy now. I should have just gone for the finisher. Because then it would have been a finisher plus a whop, and that would have been that. Okay, blocked, so there's still a chance. Not a very good chance, but there's still a chance. I feel like this is... Yeah, okay. So new plan. New plan as it goes here. We are going to instead hope to use Canopus to flank her on the side. He is going to keep firing at the healers until he can get a finisher. One of his finishers may potentially have the means to finish them off. We will additionally pull this one forward now to try to deal some damage that way. They've got some healers coming in. We're probably going to have some healers to heal this guy immediately. So, flying casters not exactly ideal for our situation right now. Thankfully, they do seem to prefer just throwing things because it's faster than using their abilities. So, fair enough there. Alright, he's going to get a guaranteed kill on Denim. Alright, so this one's probably scuffed. There's a few things I'd like to test, though. First thing that we need to test, can we one-shot their healers? Almost. Okay. Can the wizard get in position to breach? Not quite, although we can get a 40 on him, so that's good to know for the future. Potentially we can just combine all of this stuff together. But first order of business, let's go ahead and throw one of those out there. Yeah, with a very slight power boost, like, if he gets one more level and gets a boulder bow, at that point we're... Actually, no, if he just gets a boulder bow, we're solid. She can follow that up with a snipe. That's an option, but it's not really going to be the thing to win it right now. I'm pretty sure we're out of any win bubble at this point. This is the guy that we're going to be going with. He's one of the recruits from the swamp fight earlier. Now, unfortunately, he's essentially got an out-of-date weapon, and he doesn't have strengthen, so that is kind of a significant downgrade. Actually, wait a minute. Let's see. You've also got a finisher. Got better... Okay, she's got slightly worse vit, better strength, though, better dex, so better odds to actually hit the dang thing. The recovery time's almost the same, actually. Yeah, okay, we're actually going with her. There we go, fixed it. Okay, so we're going with Malin here. Actually didn't check what these guys still have left on them. Unfortunately, when it comes to HP infusion, it's one of those skills that tends to be fairly low to the bottom, so we're not running anybody with HP infusion at this point. So that kind of sucks. And thinking about it, it almost makes sense to actually... No, it definitely makes more sense to have Avalon do it. So to explain one thing earlier, the reason that I went for this kind of stuff right here, so I guess technically speaking he could do a lot of this stuff too. I want to ideally have somebody that's able to do a lot of this stuff kind of right off the bat. Now, provided we end up carrying this guy through for quite a long distance, we're going to want to keep a hold of some of these abilities. Now, stuff like Poison Cloud and whatever else, that combines really well with Extend. I mean, yeah, it's going to be a very long time until we get to that point, but still, that'd be better with Extend. Something like this, though, would be better off on her. The absolute ideal, because I wouldn't expect anyone that's transforming into a Witch or Warlock at this point to actually stick around for any length of time. The absolute ideal would be for them to have Meditate first. You really want to make a Warlock or Witch rather than hire one. But yeah, when it comes to all this, she's got some stuff that she can do, and most of her stuff will carry over. I mean, she's basically... we're okay losing a Charm Caster or something like that for a long period of time. The other guy with Poison, I really want to keep around and use for, well, as long as possible. So this one's an obligatory change. And one thing that might be changeable, though... let's see. Is there any particular reason to use Voltaire still? I really, really, really want to have a second healer. But the problem is I haven't gotten any better hammers. At this point, what's his skill looking like? I mean, I'm probably almost better off just not even bothering with any weapon skill on him at all and just having a tanky hammer guy. Yeah, there we go. Just don't even give him a skill. Who needs it? So, just dodge Rampart Aura. Doesn't even need a weapon. Let's just give him a weapon for stats. And we'll temporarily switch... Oh, but he doesn't even have a recruit, does he? Ah, that sucks. Anyway, he can have a rapier for the Vit bonus. And this... Yeah, whatever. We'll leave that there. What can we do with Volkert? Alright, for one thing, I'm thinking we probably want to switch for the Aspice instead of that one. Basically just better offensive type stuff. The actual upgrade between the rapier and shamshire, it's only 5 attack, but thrust tends to be resisted less. Okay, so we're actually going to go for the rapier. I want something like this. I mean, dex and vit bonus, so yeah, it's like vit across the board, pretty much. Balder leggings he can't quite use yet, but they're exactly the same stats, so that's fine. It's weird because the chain leggings are better than the chain vest, but the yeah, that stuff is better better there. Optionally, by the way, we also have Burnden here with both Steel, Fortify, Anatomy, all that kind of business. In fact, would he just be better at this job across the board? Huh. So if we change him back to a Berserker, he'll be stronger. We'd have a Berserker on the team. We'd still have access to the Rogue. Probably just replace Paul with this guy. You know what? Screw it. Let's do it. And since it'll probably come up, defensively, we could technically go for, 6 higher armor and things like that. But crush stuff as well as people damage tends to be a bit more of a thing, and they're getting a lot of bonus damage against us, so 5% bonus damage resistance off of this seems like it might be a solid idea, which it's getting Vit anyway, so seems solid. And also, we should probably take the ring off Eustacia. Already did that. Okay. Wait, so who has the Vit ring at this point? Alright, so we got Vit ring on Fulkert. Thing is, like, he's doing alright. Actually, no, it's still a solid thing for him because he needs that attack bonus. Because I was thinking we put that on one of the strength guys, but yeah, no, he's going to be good like that. So, here's my thought process at this point. So we've got this one over here to step in and do extra damage if she needs to, but again, level 1, so not really much going for her there. I forgot to give her gear, whatever, she's just going to be faster then. Actually, no, let's go ahead and equip her properly so that she isn't taking her turns too fast. Because that's the kind of unfortunate newbie's curse, that if they're faster, they end up bleeding out faster. Anywho, so, he's her bodyguard, essentially. Just there to try and avoid hits on her behalf. We've got 3 guys blocking the front route. We have 1 kind of in the back that can swap out as needed. Shoot. Dang it. I want to have another healer. See, the ideal at this point would be to have a rune fencer that's on divine. Unfortunately, we can't use any of our rune fencers right now, but so that we'd be able to, do Healy type stuff with them. But oh well, that just hasn't quite panned out this time around. So anyway, we've got these 2 right here with damage scaling finishers. Ideally, we just basically use them to knock somebody to incredibly low health. These 2 recruit or kill them. And, yeah. I'm thinking we need at least 1 recruit to be able to pull this off. Otherwise, we just get a breach and those 2 fist finishers on Xaebos, and that's that. Both of them are capable of doing... They should reasonably be capable at max of doing like 150, 200 of this guy. Potentially also like a 5-unit pattern here as well, where we like set up the... like, say we set up the wizard right here, we set up the 2 knights on either end, they get baited in to attack the wizard, bang, bang, he gets healed, that kind of thing. He's actually a pretty reasonably high Vit wizard, so it's probably not even a bad idea. We might go for that formation, because it would allow easier access to both units. We'd essentially have 2 frontliners instead of 3, which is fine, because they're not really... no, we'd basically swap out either for damage or whatnot else variants. And if anybody gets knocked back, then we have both of them to kind of slot into that particular opening. Other than that, they just sit there and they charge their finishers, and we should be all good. I think this plan can work. In this particular scenario, that leaves Canopus in more of a distraction role. We still don't have any support casters, but that's fine. If we run into like a wind wizard or something like that, we'll probably have more support on hand. If we can find a water one, that'd probably be perfect. I would like one with quench, since cleanse is going to be a little bit of a problem to come across. nominee units are going to be able to use cleanse and everything else. So, for those that didn't know, Healing Rain, as it was originally called, as well as Cleanse, or not Cleanse, but why am I forgetting what it's called? The Healy, Rainy move thing, Quench. There we go. That's why I always called them Long Range Refreshment Wenches, as one of the stereotypes that I liked building in this one. But yeah, they're really useful for that particular thing, because poison's one of those things you don't really think about until you're on a challenge run most of the time. And yeah, that tends to be one of those things that gets you screwed over pretty good. Alright. I mean, it's kind of like Bloodborne in that regard. It's like pretty much nobody ever uses poison for anything, and then lately I've seen a whole slew of different challenge runs coming out that are like, hey, you can do this, that, and the other with poison. Isn't that cool? Like, yeah, that took a while to discover. See, that's the great thing. That's how you know you have a good game on your hands. When it's just ages and ages since it came out and people are still discovering new stuff. It's great. Well, at least new interesting stuff, I should say. Actually, on a little bit of a random note here as far as discovering new stuff and just weirdly interesting things in general. A little while ago was covering Aquanaut's Holiday. So basically you're a submarine, you do submarine stuff. Like you're pretty much just going around exploring the ocean more or less. Except it's like a sort of creepy ocean where everything's not trying to be creepy, but it's definitely creepy. Anyway, yeah, that actually got a PS3 sequel for whatever reason. And it's not any less weird. Like, I thought maybe the original one was like, people legitimately thought that this was a relaxing experience, and it's just kind of weird because it came out of Japan or something. Turns out it's a little different than that. It turns out instead, yeah, the ending of the PS3 one basically has somebody essentially falling in love with a submarine. So, yeah, that's file that under whatever kind of weird kinks you got going on, I guess. Alright, so what we're gonna do is actually try to get the wizard terrified. Like, I want to do this attack, but I know it's a bad idea. But this way, we have the wizard taking the terror hits, and it's probably a good idea. Firestorm. Kind of wish we had access to parries or something. Well, I guess he could be the one to take the Frighten. He's not necessarily going to be throwing out too much damage anyway. And this will end up reducing its damage significantly. Let's see how her loyalty is looking these days. Oh! Okay, she hates her team. Okay, we're gonna go for that switch here. First of all, do we have any odds yet? No. Block, please. Thank you, because his health is relatively low. 13%. Please roll that. I can almost guarantee if she joins, we are golden. Very obvious answer on this one. Okay, and of course you'd cut out... Okay, there it goes. Something back. Okay, so we got the mass poison. That's lucky. See, I kind of feel like it's one of those things where if you're the one that's frightened, your odds of recruiting somebody should drop by like 50% or something. Because it seems like that lack of confidence might make a bit of an impact. Alright, we're gonna pull something of a ballsy strategy here. I'm going to have him run in and attempt to punch out a healer. I don't know if that's a good idea. I think we're just going to completely break formation and have everybody go nuts at this point. Alright, well that's a shame. Yeah, my plan was to have him run up, punch a healer, then run up and drop the big finisher on Xaebos. That could still theoretically do some good stuff, though. If only we had one bow upgrade for Campus. If we had a Boulder Bow drop at any point, he would basically be one-shotting units again. Alright, so there he goes. Don't suppose he dropped anything useful. Oh, really? Okay, he just locked himself in here. I don't think the healers are gonna get close as long as we have some people over there. Alright. Come on, roll like whatever 4%. Do it! You know you want to roll that 4%. Yeah, I know, I should be saving for a finisher, and I'd have one already if not for that, but dang it, it'd be so cool! But no, really, if this setup keeps going like it is, we consistently only need one recruit to be able to make that work. Plus we can almost one-shot this guy, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to pull a pretty mass distraction, see if we can get somebody pulled back here. Go for this guy. See if we can't have the crossbow step in and finish him off, because I think she's within range to do that. Don't suppose you want to... Oh, okay. You avoided that like a champ. Pull that off too? Eh, worth a hope. 29% are definitely not the blessed number this time around. Alright. Come on, snipe this guy. Tile out of range, but you do have a tile down here. Which, by the way, there's one map in Palace of the Dead that I thought originally was only from the remake, because for some reason I just never remembered it in the original. But that's pretty much just any of the gigantic ones. What dickhead designed those? It's like, oh yeah, half the map you can't see where you're stepping. Half the tiles are poison. Like, sure, if you're looking at the right version, you can tell which tiles are poison tiles, but yeah, you basically have to go to a different part of the UI to be able to know that. It's kind of dumb. Alright. If the Canopus distraction works like I hope it does, there's a way we can do this. See, what I'm thinking is we get a bunch of other units down relatively lowish on health. The healer heals them, then retreats, because they don't like having units flanking around them. From there, that leaves Xaebos somewhat exposed. If we get a... That's fine. Yeah, I was gonna say, if we get this guy to drop a breach, then suddenly the double hit's doing a lot more, plus poison, plus another attack out of denim. There's a chance here. Please don't heal Xaebos. Please run, please run, please run, please don't advance. There we go, perfect. We can do this. It's not the plan. It didn't go according to plan. If he gives himself dodge, then we should have another heal relatively soonish. Put him right there so that he decides to run forward, hopefully. Which still keeps him blocked off. Would have preferred if that didn't hit, but oh well. Where's my healer at? Okay, once anti-poison's on them. Let's see if we can maybe pretend to threaten them a little bit here. Nice. Okay. Please don't crit. Perfect. Alright. At this point I need Fulgurt to stay alive. I need Xaebos to go after Denim, and there is a chance, not a huge one, but there is a chance that we can still do this. Block that, please, or avoid it. Yeah, Tyrant's Mace on one vision is completely jacked, though. It's like at any point your plan's going to get completely thrown out the window because Tyrant's Mace shows up and just deletes your TP. Pretty much hard counters finisher spam in many cases. Okay, there's actually potentially another plan here, too. This is going to seem weird, but I'm just going to go for a little plink damage on him. See if he instead decides to go after a rogue here, because he should have lower defense. Just kind of here shielding the other guy. She goes for the brimstone, that's fine. Perfect. I really need to get a reflect damage on him or something. Right, yeah, they're still dealing with previous healing endeavors. So Xaebos putting that rampart there just kind of partially screwed himself. If Volt... Okay. Come on, Fulkert. Yeah, that's never gonna happen. Alright, there's a chance that Breach is about to drop off, so I'm gonna drop another one on him. I know he's not going to be able to do 150, but there's a chance he can do like 70 or so. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the point at which he runs off at low health instead of anything else. So now Denim's the target. You're joking. Alright. Very unfortunate slow hit there. Anything healing related? Yes, I do. Alright. So I'm going to bait out another hit here. I'm going to have him face the other way and have him charge up for another finisher. Their healers should be far away enough. Yes. Okay. Yeah, their healers are mostly cut off. Usually the ideal is like that, to have them stuck in one of the pockets, if you can't deal with them directly. Okay, please work. Give them my turns. Alright, potential 60 damage here. Yikes. Very yikes. Well, that sucks. Very close, though. Alright, here we go again. You know, I almost... No, I can't use another knight. I was gonna say, I almost want to use Voltaire. I can't use Voltaire! Dang it. Yeah, we need a quench wizard for sure. Or a quench witch. A quench. That feels like something that would be an insult. And get you over this way. As you saw last time, even with just a basic knife and whatever else, the rogue can actually be pretty darn useful, because rogues actually get a pretty reasonable just like penetration bonus off daggers. Well, they just get a pretty reasonable penetration bonus in general. It just happens to be really useful for daggers. So, similar approach here. This time we're going to try not to get Fulkert all creeped out. I switched out a sword to give him a little bit of better penetration and all that. So, you know, we'll deal there. Alright, let's go ahead and drop a heal on this guy. Feels like a pretty big expenditure of a pretty big item, but we need to make some plays here. Now here, she goes there, that's fine. Aside from the crit, I would have liked for her to take a little bit of scratch damage in return, but oh well. He can take the Frighten. He's not... Probably would be arguably the... No, I still would like to have him as a finisher spammer, so let's go ahead and move back. See, it just occurred to me that if everything goes exactly like I want it to, this will... Oh, you dick. This will be a run in which we'll actually get to the very end of the game, and the Fusilier will have no idea how to use a gun. A little bit of a safety poison here. You know, that'll work. Right, Burnden is almost ready to launch that finisher, so we'll keep him on standby. We need to get our, we need to get our dudes healed. This guy might be able to take a hit. Xaebos is probably about to finish off Fulkert, who's taken forever to take his next round. Unfortunately, yeah, we need Fulkert to move to be able to actually pull them back here. They're starting to make a push, so it's time to make the Canopus move. So we'll do that now. We need to get them baited backwards as much as possible. Need to get the healers distracted. See, if they heal themselves and run backwards, that basically wastes 2 turns for them. Alright, they're still healing. See, like, that guy, I just... that Terranite right there, I just view as, like, the friggin', like, angry red state Terranite. Is just, like, he doesn't even care that he's basically supporting a genocide. It's his side, and that's what he's sticking to. But, oh well. Let's do some of that. Hopefully distract some healing down the line. Okay, Xaebos is... well, he's gotten himself down there. Start working on this guy again. This is just a build finisher for her, basically. It's something. So we've got some reasonably bulky units. We've got a couple big finishers nearby him. If Canopus's next turn can do something to these healers, we're on to something here. It's a little bit risky because I don't know where that other archer is. I probably should take a look, but A, it gets him closer to his meter, and B, it gets us one step closer to dealing with that fencer, so he stops taking out our squishies. Okay, Canopus' plan is coming together. So he will get taken out as soon as he makes his big move, but getting there's the thing. Okay, so we've got one more big heal. I can use it on him. Alright, that'll work, actually. Don't crit that, please. Thank you. Finally, we got some moves to be made here, so... Let's see, yeah, you... probably around here now. Hell, what do we even do with you now? Because right now, he's pretty much exactly where he needs to be. Like, he's taking hits, he's blocking off routes. We've got... give or take, kind of sort of 3 finishers ready to go on Xaebos. I need to get those healers taken care of because they'll immediately sort that damage out. Weird. Okay, weird plan if this works. Do you have Steadfast? You do not. Okay. So what I'm thinking is we end up giving her 1 knockback. So now she's over there. Now she'll have to actually take a turn to get closer. Do next to no damage with that. That's fine. And we get a finisher along the back there. What do you do under these circumstances? So 39, 71. That can be scaled up way better. So what I'd like to do is get him over this way. We've gotten rid of one of the range casters. Right now, if he goes down, that's fine. He's not bleeding out, and he's pretty much done all he needs to do. If he survives, great. Right now, there's a ton of stuff that he's doing just right. So we've got him out of the way. We've got them poisoned. He's gonna eat one more hit. That's perfectly fine. Now all we really need is a breach. Who do we have to deliver the breach? Oh, on the plus side, though, we can test something. Did that give you an experience? I don't believe it ever does. No. So yeah, it's definitely not scaling off it, but it's one of the only times I've ever seen where it seems like they'll actually get a damage bonus off it, but they don't seem to. It's Prevailing Element right now. Yeah, ice, so I'm not sure why they... Well, Whirlwind Shot might be off of ice. That's the weird thing. They basically work in reverse. I don't even know. It's fine. Don't question it. Kind of sucks. I was hoping they would go after my Dragoon, but I mean, he did his job, so that's fine. I mean, at least she's wasting the Brimstone on him instead of somebody like Folkert, who, as it turns out, may actually have his finisher ready to make this all happen. Alright, got Weston here. Go here, get in position to do your thing. You go here. Use your finisher already. Instead, you use this mead on him. Get all our other finishers ready to go drop on this guy. Would really like Folkert to be participating in that, but fine. They always have exactly who they need at the right time. She'll tank one more. Beautiful. It's just barely enough. Potentially a good angle right here. So sometimes you can just create the situation where there's like that little pathway on the right side here. They can step up right here. So it's a 2-step tile right here. You can sometimes put a squishy right there, and it just kind of tempts them to go that way. Not super reliable, but it's there. Give me my finishers. Let me get this wrapped up. So that's an annoying thing. Sometimes they will have this whole chain of different events set up, and I have a whole problem dealing with all of it. Yeah, like that crap is super annoying when suddenly they have exactly the grenade they need. Or when Xaebos decides to suddenly just go and heal himself. Alright, please go after the wizard. Please go after the wizard. The wonderful wizard of dead. I mean, that works too. That actually is pretty much completely optimal, so I don't know if we're allowed to cancel that turn then. Avalon goes down. That sucks, but oh well. This especially sucks because Whiston was basically right there, and now he's very much not right there. Oh, that's irritating. Alright. He's pretty much as not there as he can be. But awkward movement happens. There's still a chance here, but it all comes down to whether or not that Berserker ever decides to take his turn. Right, can you land this from the front? It's still 39, so that blows. Right. I mean, this is the plan to do it, for sure. Problem is just making it happen, and however many times this takes. So I really should have just finished this a-hole off earlier, because he's been the main thorn in the side this entire fight. Because we had all the units that we needed. We had pretty much 4 finishers ready to go, and that's overkill in this case. And everybody keeps getting locked off in a pretty annoying manner. Alright, anyway. I'm out of time, though. That's the frustrating part. I'm out of time, so I'm just gonna have to do this one, like, we're just gonna add it to the next one. Screw it. You get the general idea here. Pretty much get ideally 2 damage scaling people. So we've already got our 2 damage scaling people on the team. Pretty much moved them too early, but we need this one, and we need the one that already bled out to hit this guy. And when it's when they're breached, they're just getting bonus damage to those kinds of scaling moves, because it's basically scaling past their armor anyway in most cases, so they're going to get a pretty massive bonus off it. We get them up ideally to their full 200 instead of trying to use 120, and yeah, then we just combine it with Volkert or something, and we're all good to go. It's annoying that he decided to go for such weird movement here, but pretty much that's the plan. I just redo this until it works, and when we're not randomly cut off in stupid ways. So anyway, that'll be that. I'll see you guys next time. Sorry for the weird ending, but whatever. You get the general idea here. I wish there was more time, but the schedule's chaotic at this point. There's not much I can do about that. Have a good one. Take care. Bye.